The day the aliens came was sunny. Captain Tahoe stood straight in his crisp uniform. His dog Storm sat at his feet, alert and still. They were both part of the security team for the most important meeting in human history. "Keep your eyes open," Tahoe told his team. "We don't know anything about these visitors." The large field outside Seoul had been chosen for the landing. World leaders waited on a stage. Thousands of people watched from behind barriers. TV cameras pointed at the empty sky. Then it appeared, a silver ship that seemed to float down from the clouds. It made no sound as it landed on the grass. It was smooth and oval, like a giant egg. Storm's ears perked up. The dog's body tensed. "Easy, boy," Tahoe whispered. But he felt uneasy too. Something about the ship made his skin tingle. A door opened in the side of the ship. A ramp extended to the ground. 3 tall figures walked out. The aliens called themselves the Vexari. They had 4 arms and skin that shimmered like oil on water. Their heads were narrow with 3 eyes in a triangle pattern. They wore robes that seemed to flow like water. "We come in peace," the tallest one said in perfect Korean. "We are the Vexari Confederation. We have watched your world for many years." The crowd gasped. The world leaders stepped forward to greet the aliens. Tahoe noticed Storm was growing restless. The dog's fur stood on end, and a low growl formed in his throat. "Quiet," Tahoe ordered, but it was strange. Storm was the best-trained military dog in the unit. He never acted this way. The main alien, who called himself Speaker Zol, talked about friendship between worlds and sharing knowledge. But Tahoe caught something in the alien's middle eye, a cold look that didn't match the friendly words. During the meeting, Tahoe was called to bring Storm and follow the world leaders into a large tent for private talks. Inside, maps of Earth were spread on tables. "Your world is very diverse," Speaker Zol said, pointing at the maps. "So many different ecosystems, so many different creatures." When he said this, he seemed to look at Storm with all 3 eyes. Storm growled again, louder this time. "Control your animal," Speaker Zol said sharply. "I'm sorry," Tahoe said, pulling Storm back. "He's never like this." The alien stared at Storm. "You keep predator mammals as companions. Interesting choice." The meeting continued for hours. The aliens asked many questions about Earth's military, power systems, and governments. They shared little about themselves. As everyone left the tent, Tahoe overheard 2 aliens speaking in their own language. His translator device picked up their words. "Their defenses are basic, their weapons primitive, and their reliance on mammal companions is disturbing. It will make the integration easier." Tahoe felt a chill. What did they mean by integration? 3 days later, at the final meeting, Speaker Zol stood before the world's cameras. His friendly tone was gone. "Earth will be peacefully integrated into the Vexari Confederation," he announced. "Your technology and culture will be improved under our guidance. Resistance would be unwise and futile." The world leaders protested. This was not what they had agreed to discuss. "The decision is made," Speaker Zol said. "We return in 3 months to begin the integration process." As the aliens walked back to their ship, Storm barked wildly, straining at his leash. Other animals across the field, birds, squirrels, even insects, seemed to flee from the aliens' path. Tahoe watched the ship rise silently into the sky. He scratched Storm behind the ears. "You knew something was wrong from the start, didn't you, boy?" he said quietly. "I think we're going to need you very soon." Above them, the alien ship vanished into the clouds, but Tahoe knew they would be back. And next time, they wouldn't be talking about peace. 3 months passed quickly. The world prepared as best it could. Armies trained. Scientists studied the little they knew about the Vexari. People hoped for peace but expected war. Dr. Jisoo worked day and night in her lab. She was a xenobiologist, someone who studied alien life. She had small samples the Vexari had left behind, a piece of cloth, some dust from their ship, and recordings of their movements. "There's something strange here," she told her team, pointing to her screen. "Look at how they react when near mammals." The video showed Speaker Zoll flinching when a cat ran past during one meeting. Another clip showed a Vexeri stepping far away from a police horse. "They don't like Earth animals," one assistant said. "Not just dislike," Jisoo said. "I think they fear them." On the morning the Vexeri returned, the sky filled with ships. Not one ship like before, but hundreds. They blocked the sun like metal clouds. Captain Taeho stood with his unit in Seoul. Storm was at his side, wearing special armor made for military dogs. "This is not going to be a friendly visit," Taeho told his soldiers. "Be ready for anything." Small ships broke away from the main fleet. They descended on major cities around the world. 5 ships landed in Seoul's largest park. Taeho watched through binoculars as hundreds of Vexari troops marched out. They wore body armor and carried long weapons that glowed blue at the tips. "All units hold position," came the order through Taeho's radio. "Do not fire unless fired upon." The Vexari moved through the streets. They used devices to scan buildings. When people refused to leave their homes, the aliens simply cut through walls with their weapons. "They're rounding up civilians," Taeho reported. "Request permission to engage." "Permission granted," the radio crackled. "All units defend the city." The battle was fierce but one-sided. Human bullets bounced off Vexari armor. Their blue weapons cut through tanks like they were made of paper. Taeho's unit was forced to retreat down a narrow street. Vexari soldiers followed them, weapons ready. "We're trapped," a soldier named Q said. Taeho looked at Storm, who was growling and pulling at his leash. "Maybe not," Taeho said. He unhooked Storm's leash. "Storm, attack." The dog shot forward like an arrow, running straight at the Vexari soldiers. Taeho expected Storm to be killed instantly. But something amazing happened. When the Vexari saw Storm charging, they froze. Then they scrambled backward, crashing into each other. One dropped his weapon. Another fell trying to get away. "They're afraid of him," Taeho shouted. "Move forward." His unit advanced, with Storm leading the way. The dog didn't even bite anyone. He just barked and charged, and the Vexari retreated in panic. In the confusion, Taeho grabbed one of the alien weapons. He fired it at a Vexari ship hovering nearby. The ship's engine exploded, and it crashed to the ground. Across the city, the pattern was the same. Where humans alone failed, humans with animals caused chaos among the Vexari. A police officer on horseback scattered a whole group of aliens. Stray cats running through the battlefield made Vexari soldiers drop their weapons and flee. By nightfall, Taeho's unit had secured their sector of the city. He reported to headquarters, where he found Dr. Jisoo with the military commanders. "Your dog confirmed my theory," Jisoo said excitedly. "The Vexari have a deep biological fear of Earth mammals. In all their worlds, they've never encountered anything like our animals." "One dog won't win this war," a general said. "No," Taeho agreed, petting Storm's head. "But what about thousands of dogs? And cats? And horses?" Jisoo smiled. "I'm already working on a plan. We're calling it Operation Noah's Ark." Outside, the Vexari ships still filled the sky. The war had just begun. But for the first time, humans had hope. "Tomorrow," Taeho said, looking at Storm, "we show them what Earth's real defenders can do." 1 week after the invasion began, humans were losing the war. The Vexari had better weapons, stronger ships, and more soldiers. They had taken control of many major cities around the world. But they had one weakness: Earth's animals. Dr. Jisoo presented her findings to military leaders from around the world. They met in an underground bunker near what was left of Seoul. "The Vexari evolved on a planet with no mammals," Jisoo explained. "Their world had no furry creatures with teeth and claws. Our animals trigger a fear response in them that they cannot control." "So what do we do with this information?" asked General Park. A man stood up from the back of the room. He was tall with broad shoulders and a scar across his cheek. We build an army of animals. This was Du Yun, once the head of Korea's largest wildlife preserve. Before the invasion, he had worked with endangered species. Now he would help save the human species. I've already started training programs, Du Yun said. Dogs are easiest, but we're also working with cats, horses, and even rats. Rats? Someone asked with disgust. Rats can get into small spaces, Du Yun explained. They can chew through wires, and they terrify the Vexari just as much as bigger animals. Captain Taho stood up next. Storm sat by his side, now wearing improved armor with small cameras attached. My unit has already tested this approach, Taho said. We sent 10 soldiers with 10 dogs against a Vexari patrol. We defeated 30 aliens without a single human casualty. Videos played on the large screen. Dogs running toward Vexari soldiers, who dropped their weapons and fled. Cats jumping onto alien equipment, causing the operators to abandon their posts. A horse galloping through an alien camp, scattering the invaders like leaves in the wind. Operation Noah's Ark is ready to expand, Jisoo said. We need every animal we can train. 2 days later, the first major counterattack began. In cities across the world, humans advanced with their animal allies beside them. In Seoul, Taeho led his unit through the streets. Each soldier had a dog partner. Some carried cages with cats ready to be released. They approached a Vexari command post. It was heavily guarded with alien soldiers and energy barriers. Ready the first wave, Taeho ordered. Soldiers opened cages, releasing 30 cats. The cats ran toward the Vexari position, curious and quick. The effect was immediate. Alien soldiers backed away from their posts. Some ran. Others fired wildly, missing the fast-moving cats. Second wave, now, Taeho commanded. The dogs charged forward, barking loudly. Taeho ran behind Storm, using the confusion to get past the energy barrier. Inside the command post, Vexari officers tried to hide behind equipment. One tall alien in a special uniform stood his ground, firing at the approaching humans and dogs. That's their commander, Taeho told Storm. Go. Storm leaped forward, teeth bared. The Vexari commander dropped his weapon and scrambled up a ladder to escape. Within 20 minutes, the command post was captured. Human technicians worked quickly to access the alien computers. We've broken their communication network, a technician reported, and we have their battle plans for the next 3 days. Similar victories came in from around the world. Horses scattered Vexari troops in London. Trained hawks disrupted alien sensors in New York. Even zoo animals played a part. The sound of lion roars broadcast over speakers sent whole Vexari units retreating. That night, Du Yun joined Taeho and Jisoo at the recaptured command post. The Vexari are adapting, Du Yun warned. They're developing shields against our animals. Then we'll adapt too, Jisoo said. We need more animals. Different species. Taeho looked at the map showing Vexari positions around the world. They still controlled most major cities. The war was far from over. Tomorrow, we expand Operation Noah's Ark, he said, scratching Storm behind the ears. If the Vexari thought dogs were scary, wait until they meet the rest of Earth's defenders. Dr. Jisoo barely slept these days. Her lab, now moved to an underground bunker, was filled with screens showing animal behavior and Vexari biology. I found something important, she told Taeho and Du Yun when they visited her lab. Look at these brain scans of the Vexari. On the screen, colorful images showed an alien brain lighting up with activity. This is a normal Vexari brain, Jisoo explained. She clicked a button. And this is what happens when we show them images of Earth mammals. The alien brain lit up like a festival of lights, especially in one area marked in red. That's their fear center, Jisoo said. It's much larger than in human brains. The Vexari evolved on a world with no mammalian predators. To them, our furry animals with teeth and claws are like monsters from nightmares. That explains why they react so strongly, Taiho said, looking down at Storm, who was resting at his feet. But there's more, Jisoo continued. I found this in their computer files. She showed them a new image. It was a plan for giant machines. What is that? Du Yun asked. Terraforming equipment, Jisoo said grimly. They plan to change Earth's atmosphere. The new air would kill all mammals, including humans. They want to make our planet like their home world. Taiho's face hardened. How long do we have? 2 months, maybe less. They're already building these machines in their main bases. The three of them joined a meeting with General Park and other resistance leaders. They shared Jisoo's discoveries. We need to hit their main bases, the general said. But our regular attacks aren't working anymore. The Vexeri have developed protective suits that block their fear response to animals. Do Yun stood up. Then we need to try something new, different animals. Unexpected tactics. Over the next week, Du Yun expanded the animal training program. Dogs, cats, and horses were already being used effectively. Now he added birds, monkeys, and even trained rats. Rats can chew through wires, he explained to the soldiers. They can disable Vexeri equipment from the inside. Taiho led a special team of soldiers, each paired with animal partners. They prepared to attack a major Vexeri command center near what used to be Busan. Remember, Taiho told his team, the Vexeri have protective suits now. Our animals won't scare them like before. But the suits have weaknesses. They limit movement and vision. The attack began at night. First came the rats, hundreds of them, released near the base's power systems. Within minutes, alarms sounded as the power flickered. Next came the birds, trained falcons and hawks that dive-bombed the Vexeri guards, aiming for the eyepieces in their protective helmets. Now, Taiho ordered, and his team moved in. Storm ran beside Taiho, wearing his special armor with a small camera attached. Other dogs followed with their human partners. Inside the base, it was chaos. The power was failing. Rats had chewed through critical wiring. Birds flew through the corridors, confusing the Vexeri soldiers. Taiho's team fought their way to the central command room. The door was locked. Storm, find another way, Taiho said. The dog ran to an air vent and barked. A soldier removed the cover, and Storm squeezed inside. Moments later, they heard barking from inside the room, followed by crashes and alien shouts. The door suddenly opened. Inside, 3 Vexeri officers were huddled in a corner, their protective suits damaged. Storm stood guard, growling at them. Secure the room, Taiho ordered. As his team worked, he went to a large computer terminal. Jisoo had taught him what to look for. I found it, he said finally. Complete plans for their terraforming project. And something else, communication logs with their homeworld. Taiho downloaded everything onto a small device. This information could change the war. But as his team prepared to leave, a message came through their radios. All units retreat. The Vexeri are deploying new weapons, flying drones that aren't affected by our animal tactics. Taiho looked at Storm. Let's go, boy. We've got what we came for. As they left the base, the sky filled with small metal objects. The drones had arrived, and they had no fear of Earth's animals. The Vexeri drones changed everything. They filled the skies like angry metal insects. Unlike the aliens themselves, these machines had no fear of Earth's animals. Fall back, Taiho shouted as his team ran through the streets of what was once Busan. Storm ran beside him, barking at the drones that followed them. The drones fired blue energy beams that cut through buildings. One hit a car near Taiho, making it explode. He and Storm dived behind a wall just in time. 3 weeks later, the war was going badly for humans again. The resistance leaders met in their deepest underground base. We've lost Seoul again, General Park said, pointing to a map, and most of our bases in Japan and China. The drones are hunting our animal teams, Du Yun added. They seemed to target the animals first, then the humans. Dr. Jisoo stood up. She looked tired, with dark circles under her eyes. I've studied the data Captain Taho brought back from the Vexeri Command Center. Their plan is moving forward. The terraforming machines are almost ready. How much time do we have? Someone asked. 2 weeks, maybe less. Jisoo answered. Once they start changing our atmosphere, all mammals will begin to die. The room was quiet. After all their early successes with animal allies, they were losing again. Taiho spoke up. We need a new approach. The Vexeri have adapted to our mammals. What else do we have? A young soldier raised her hand. She worked with Du Yun in the animal training program. I've noticed something about the drones, she said. They don't seem to care about birds. I watched a flock of crows fly right through a drone patrol. The drones didn't react at all. Du Yun's eyes widened. That's it. The drones are programmed to target mammals because that's what the Vexari fear, but birds aren't mammals. Taiho looked thoughtful. Could we use birds against the drones? It's worth trying, Du Yun said. Birds are fast and can fly. Some, like crows and ravens, are very smart. Over the next few days, Du Yun worked with bird experts. They gathered as many trained birds as they could find. Falcons, hawks, eagles, and crows. Taiho watched as they tested the birds against a captured drone. The birds quickly learned to attack the drone's weak spots, its sensors, antennas, and thin cooling vents. It works, Du Yun said excitedly. The birds can disable the drones, but we need more birds, hundreds more. And we need to get to the main terraforming machine. Jisoo added. It's in their largest base in what used to be Beijing. General Park nodded. We'll make 2 teams. Captain Taho will lead the ground force with our mammal allies. Du Yun will coordinate the bird attack on their drones. If we can clear the air, Taho's team might reach the terraforming machine. 2 days later, the attack began. Thousands of birds flew into the sky over Beijing. Falcons dived at speeds over 200 miles per hour, striking drones and knocking them from the sky. Crows and ravens attacked in groups, surrounding drones and pecking at their vital parts. On the ground, Taiho led a small team of soldiers with their animal partners. Storm ran ahead, now wearing advanced armor that protected him from drone attacks. The birds are working, came Du Yun's voice over the radio. Drone numbers are down by half. Taiho's team fought their way toward the center of the Vexeri base. The aliens had improved their protective suits, but they still moved slowly in them, giving the humans an advantage in close fighting. Finally, they reached a massive building. Inside was a machine the size of a house, humming with power. This is it, Taiho said, looking at the plans Jisoo had given him. The terraforming machine. We have 10 minutes to plant explosives before more Vexeri arrive. As his team worked quickly, Taiho looked at Storm. We might win this battle, boy, but the war is far from over. Outside, the sky darkened as more Vexeri ships arrived. The aliens were calling for reinforcements. Explosive charges set, shouted one of Taiho's soldiers. We have 5 minutes to clear the area. Taiho nodded. Everyone move out. His team ran from the terraforming machine room. Storm led the way, sniffing out the safest path. Outside, the battle in the sky continued. Birds of all kinds attacked the Vexeri drones. Falcons knocked drones from the sky. Hawks tore at drone sensors. Even small birds like sparrows flew in huge flocks that confused the drone targeting systems. The exit is blocked, a soldier called out. More Vexeri troops are coming. Taiho looked around quickly. This way. He pointed to a side corridor. Storm, find us another exit. The dog ran ahead, his nose to the ground. The team followed through twisting hallways until they reached a small door. This leads to the outer wall, Taiho said, checking his map. Once outside, we run for the extraction point. Just as they reached the door, a loud boom shook the building. The floor trembled under their feet. Our explosives went off early. Someone shouted. Move, now, Tahoe ordered. They burst through the door into the open air. The sky was filled with smoke and flying objects. Both birds and drones locked in aerial combat. Tahoe's radio crackled. Captain, this is Du Yun. What's your status? The terraforming machine is destroyed, Tahoe reported. But we're cut off from the extraction point. I'm sending help, Du Yun replied. Look up. Tahoe looked into the sky. A large shape moved through the smoke. It was a helicopter, one of the few still working after the invasion. It flew low, birds flying protective circles around it. Your ride is here, Du Yun said. The birds will keep the drones away for 2 minutes. That's all the time you have. The helicopter landed in an open space 30 meters away. Tahoe and his team ran for it, Storm racing ahead. Suddenly, a group of Vexeri soldiers appeared, blocking their path. They wore the new protective suits and carried heavy weapons. We're trapped, a soldier yelled. Then a strange sound filled the air, a high-pitched whistling. Tahoe looked up. Hundreds of birds were diving toward them, but not attacking the humans. Instead, they focused on the Vexeri soldiers, aiming for the eyepieces in their helmets and the joints in their suits. Du Yun's bird command, Tahoe realized. Move while they're distracted. The team sprinted past the confused Vexeri, who were swinging their arms wildly at the birds. Storm jumped into the helicopter first, followed by the humans. Go, 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 Tahoe shouted to the pilot. The helicopter lifted off, birds still flying protection around it. Below, the Vexeri base was in chaos. The destroyed terraforming machine had caused a chain reaction, damaging other buildings. Birds controlled the sky, taking down drones one by one. Back at the resistance base, leaders celebrated the victory. The terraforming threat was stopped, for now. The Vexari are pulling back to their ships, General Park announced. They're retreating to orbit. Cheers filled the room, but Dr. Jisoo looked worried. This isn't over, she said. I've been studying their communications. They're regrouping for a different strategy. What kind of strategy? Tahoe asked. Jisoo pulled up an image on her computer. It showed Vexeri ships positioned over Earth's oceans. They're planning to poison our water, she said. If they can't change our air, they'll attack our oceans instead. The room went quiet. Earth's oceans were essential for all life. Du Yun looked thoughtful. If they're moving to the oceans, we need new allies. He turned to Tahoe. How do you feel about dolphins and whales? Marine mammals. Tahoe asked. Can we even communicate with them? Jisoo's eyes lit up. Actually, we might be able to. I've been working on a translation system for dolphin sounds. General Park nodded slowly. First dogs, then birds, now sea creatures. Operation Noah's Ark is getting bigger. Outside, the sky was clearing as Vexeri ships retreated to space. But everyone knew the battle was moving to a new battlefield, the vast oceans of Earth. Get some rest, the general told them. Tomorrow, we take the fight to the sea. The Vexeri wasted no time. 3 days after retreating to orbit, their ships moved into position over Earth's oceans. Long tubes extended from the ships, reaching down to the water. They're pumping something into the sea, reported Captain Han-gil of the Korean Navy. He was one of the few naval officers still commanding a ship after the invasion. Han-gil's small vessel stayed hidden in a coastal inlet, watching the alien ships through powerful binoculars. Water samples show high levels of toxins, he reported back to headquarters. Fish are already dying near the release points. At the resistance base, Dr. Jisoo worked frantically with marine biologists. They had set up a large pool where 2 bottlenose dolphins swam. The device is ready, Jisoo told Tahoe and Du Yun. She held up what looked like a small helmet with lights and speakers attached. This translator can convert dolphin sounds to human speech and back again. Will it really work? Tahoe asked, looking doubtful. Dolphins are incredibly intelligent, Jisoo said. Their brains are nearly as complex as ours. They already understand many human commands. This device will help us have real conversations with them. Do Yun nodded. If we can communicate with dolphins, they can be our eyes and ears underwater. They can find the Vexari poison pumps. The next day, they met Captain Handgiel at a small harbor. His ship, the Sea Dragon, was one of the last working naval vessels in Korea. We've spotted 6 major poison distribution points in our waters, Handgiel said, showing them a map. But we can't get close enough to destroy them. Vexari ships guard each one. That's where our new allies come in, Jisoo said. They boarded the Sea Dragon with the 2 dolphins in special water tanks. Once at sea, they lowered the tanks and released the dolphins into the ocean. Jisoo put on a headset connected to underwater speakers. "Hello, friends," she said into the microphone. "Can you understand me?" The dolphins made clicking and whistling sounds. The translation device processed these sounds, and a computerized voice spoke from Jisoo's laptop. "Yes, we understand. Water tastes wrong. Many fish dying. They know something's wrong with the ocean," Jisoo told the others excitedly. They're already aware of the problem. Through the translator, Jisoo explained their mission to the dolphins. The intelligent sea mammals seemed to understand the danger to their home. "We find bad water machines," came the translated dolphin response. "We show you where." The dolphins disappeared under the waves. 2 hours later, they returned. Found metal things on seafloor, making bad water. Many. Too many to count. Handgiel looked concerned. "How can we destroy them all? We don't have enough explosives." Jisoo spoke with the dolphins again. After a long exchange, she turned to the others with a smile. "They're going to call for help," she said. "Lots of help." The next morning, Handgiel's radar operator called him to the bridge. "Sir, you need to see this." The radar screen showed hundreds of moving objects approaching the ship. Handgiel rushed outside with binoculars. The ocean was alive with movement. Dolphins by the dozens leaked and swam around the ship. Behind them came larger shapes, orcas, pilot whales, even a few massive humpback whales. "It's like they've called every marine mammal in the area," Du Yun said in awe. The dolphins returned to the ship. Through the translator, they explained that they had spread the word about the danger to all sea creatures. Jisoo attached small cameras to several dolphins. Others carried specially designed explosive packages that could be triggered remotely. "Show us the poison machines," Handgiel instructed. The dolphins led the way, with the ship following at a distance. On underwater cameras, they watched as dolphins placed explosives on the Vexari poison dispensers. Larger whales used their massive bodies to damage the equipment, bending metal pipes and breaking connections. When the charges were set, Handgiel gave the order to detonate. Underwater explosions sent columns of water shooting into the air. Alarms sounded on the Vexari ships above. "They're responding," Taiho warned. "Alien ships are moving into attack position." But the sea mammals had another surprise. Huge whales rose beneath the smaller Vexari vessels, tipping them over. Dolphins swam in coordinated attacks against ship propellers. "The ocean is fighting back," Du Yun said with a smile. That night, as the Sea Dragon sailed home, a message arrived from Resistance headquarters. Similar marine mammal uprisings were happening in oceans around the world. The Vexari ocean poisoning plan was failing. But in orbit, the alien commander was preparing a final desperate strategy. The Vexari mothership hung in space like a dark moon. It was 50 times larger than any other alien vessel. From this massive ship, the Vexari commander sent a message to all corners of Earth. "Humans of Earth," the alien voice boomed from every working speaker and screen. "Your resistance is impressive but futile. You have 2 days to surrender. After that, we will destroy your atmosphere completely. All life on your world will end." At Resistance headquarters, General Park called an emergency meeting. Taiho, Jisoo, Du Yun, and Handgiel gathered around a table with maps and computer screens. Can they really destroy our atmosphere? Taiho asked. Jisoo nodded grimly. Based on the data we've gathered, yes. The mothership has weapons powerful enough to break apart our air. They held back until now because they wanted Earth for themselves. Now they're willing to destroy what they can't have. Then we must attack the mothership directly, General Park said. Everyone looked at him in surprise. How? Hangale asked. We have no spacecraft that could reach it. Actually, we might, Du-Yun said slowly. The Vexari have smaller ships that travel between the mothership and Earth. We've captured 3 of them intact. You want to fly an alien ship? Taiho asked. Our engineers have been studying them, Du-Yun explained. They think they can operate one. But the Vexari would detect humans aboard immediately. Jisoo's eyes lit up. But they might not detect animals. Their sensors are tuned to find human life signs, not other Earth creatures. The plan came together quickly. They would use one captured Vexari ship. A small team of engineers would fly it, hidden in a special compartment designed to mask their life signs. With them would be the most effective animal allies. What Du-Yun called Noah's elite ark. We need small, smart animals that can move through the ship, disable systems, and create chaos, Du-Yun explained. The next day, they prepared the captured ship. The team would include Taiho with Storm, Jisoo with her translation equipment, and Du-Yun with cages of specially trained animals. What's in the cages? Taiho asked. Du-Yun opened them one by one. 4 trained rats that can chew through wires, 2 ravens that can fly through the ship and press buttons with their beaks, 1 small monkey that can open doors and panels, and 6 special insects, giant hornets that will terrify the Vexari as much as mammals do. General Park addressed the team before they left. The fate of our world depends on you. You must reach the mothership's control center and disable their atmospheric weapons. We'll only have one chance at this. The captured Vexari ship rose into the sky. 3 engineers operated the controls from the hidden compartment. The animals were quiet in their cages, as if they understood the importance of their mission. As they approached the mothership, a voice came over the ship's communication system, speaking in the alien language. One engineer responded using phrases they had learned from captured Vexari. They're asking for our identification, the engineer whispered to the others. I told them we have equipment problems and need emergency docking. The massive doors of the mothership opened. Their small ship entered a huge hangar filled with other Vexari vessels. We're in, Taiho said quietly. Now the hard part begins. When the doors of their ship opened, Du-Yun released the ravens first. The blackbirds flew high into the hangar's ceiling spaces, out of sight. Next came the rats, slipping silently into the shadows. According to the ship plans we stole, the control center is 30 levels up. Jisoo said, checking the small device. We need to reach the main elevator. Taiho nodded to Storm. Lead the way, boy. Find us a path with no aliens. The dog sniffed the air and began moving forward cautiously. The team followed, keeping to the shadows. Above them, the ravens watched and occasionally cawed softly to warn of approaching aliens. This might actually work, Taiho whispered as they reached the elevator undetected. Then alarms began to sound throughout the mothership. A voice spoke in the Vexari language, urgent and angry. They know we're here, Jisoo said. The final battle for Earth has begun. Alarms screamed throughout the Vexari mothership. Red lights flashed in the corridors. The elevator is locked down, Jisoo said, trying the controls. Find another way, Taiho told Storm. The dog sniffed around and barked at a small vent near the floor. Du-Yun released the trained rats. Follow them, he instructed. They'll find paths through the ship. The rats disappeared into the vent. The monkey followed, then Storm. The humans crawled after them into the narrow space. Through the vents, they moved upward, level by level. They could hear Vexari soldiers running through the halls, searching for them. The ravens are causing chaos 2 levels up, Jisoo said, checking the small tracking device. The Hornets are loose in the air circulation system. After climbing for what seemed like hours, they'd reached a large vent opening. Storm sniffed and growled softly. "The control center is on the other side," Tai-Ho whispered. They peered through the vent slats. The control center was massive. Dozens of Vexari officers worked at glowing screens. At the center stood the Supreme Commander, taller than the others, with a robe of shimmering metal. "The atmospheric destruction weapon is there," Jisoo said, pointing to a large panel with a countdown displayed. "It's set for 12 hours. "We need a distraction," Du-Yun said. He released the Hornets through the vent. The giant insects buzzed into the control room. When the Vexari saw them, they reacted with pure terror. Officers abandoned their posts, trying to swat away the Hornets. Now, Tai-Ho kicked open the vent. Storm leaped out first, barking loudly. The team followed, rushing toward the weapon controls. The Supreme Commander stood his ground, unlike his panicking crew. He drew a weapon and aimed at Jisoo. "Storm, protect," Tai-Ho shouted. The dog launched himself at the alien leader, knocking the weapon away. The commander fell back against a control panel. "Disable the weapon," Tai-Ho told Jisoo, while he and Du-Yun fought off the few Vexari officers still at their posts. Jisoo worked at the controls, using knowledge from captured Vexari technology. "It's not working. The final sequence is locked." The Supreme Commander stood again, now wearing a fully sealed helmet to block his fear response to the Earth animals. He spoke in perfect human language. "Your attempt is brave but useless. Only I can stop the weapon countdown." Suddenly, the ravens swooped into the room, followed by the monkey. They landed on control panels, pressing buttons seemingly at random. Screens flickered. Ship systems began to shut down. "What is happening?" the commander demanded. Instead of attacking, Jisoo stepped forward. "We don't have to be enemies," she said. "We can coexist." "Impossible," the commander replied. "Your world is too dangerous with these creatures." He gestured at Storm and the other animals. "But that's exactly why you should ally with us instead of fighting us," Jisoo said. "These animals that scare you so much, they protect us from an even greater threat." The commander paused. "What threat?" "The data we captured mentioned enemies that drove your people from your original homeworld. Enemies that even your technology couldn't defeat." The Vexari leader was silent for a long moment. Then he touched controls on his wrist. Screens around the room changed to show strange shapes moving through space. Twisted ships unlike any human design. "The Void Collective," the commander said. "They have pursued us across 3 galaxies. Our fear response to mammals evolved because our ancient predators were similar to your animals. The Void Collective used that fear against us." "Then we have a common enemy," Tai-Ho said, with Storm now sitting calmly at his feet. "Your technology and our animal allies together would be stronger than either alone." The Supreme Commander looked at the Earth animals in the room. The dog sitting obediently, the ravens perched quietly, the monkey watching curiously. These creatures that terrified his people were also intelligent, trainable, and loyal. "Perhaps," he said finally, "there is wisdom in what you say." He pressed a button, and the weapon countdown stopped. 3 days later, Tai-Ho, Jisoo, and Du-Yun stood with General Park as the Vexari Supreme Commander signed a peace treaty. Storm sat beside them, watching as the document was marked by both human and alien hands. "From enemies to allies," Jisoo said quietly, "and all because of our animal friends." In orbit, Vexari ships began reconfiguring for a new purpose, as an early warning system against the approaching Void Collective. On Earth, humans and their animal companions prepared for a different kind of battle. The universe was full of dangers, but Earth's defenders, both human and animal, were ready.